A shocking clue may have just changed everything we thought we knew about the recent tragedy at the Metro Court Pool. Guys, something isn't adding up anymore regarding the sudden and terrifying near drowning of Drew Kane. On the surface, the narrative being spun by the Port Charles Police Department seems straightforward, almost too neat. We are being led to believe that a simple afternoon of relaxation turned into a malicious attempt on a man's life by the person closest to him. But if you look closely at the shadows lurking around the perimeter of this investigation, you will realize that we might be witnessing one of the most calculated setups in recent history. A new detail could expose the truth, and if my suspicions are correct, someone is orchestrating a masterclass in deception right under our noses. Let us set the scene and really examine the physical reality of what went down. As we all know, Drew's mobility has been severely restricted following his recent traumas. He is currently relying on a wheelchair, making him incredibly vulnerable and entirely dependent on others for his basic safety. Willow took him to the Metro Court pool area, ostensibly to give him a breath of fresh air and a moment of peace away from the suffocating walls of his recovery room. It was supposed to be a quiet, healing afternoon. But then Willow stepped away, just for a moment. And in that tiny, seemingly insignificant window of time, Drew ended up in the deep end of the pool, fighting for his life, unable to swim or save himself due to his physical limitations. He was mere seconds away from death before a heroic bystander and a quick-thinking hotel staff member dove in to pull him from the water. Now, here is the detail that we need to hyper-focus on. The police are looking at the obvious timeline. Willow was the last person seen with him. She left his side, and suddenly he is in the water. But think about the physics of this situation. A man in a wheelchair with severely limited mobility does not simply roll himself over the edge of a pool by accident. It requires force. It requires intent. The clue here isn't what happened, it's the precision of the timing. The perpetrator knew exactly when Willow would be out of sight. They knew exactly how helpless Drew was. This level of opportunistic cruelty requires someone who has been watching, waiting, and studying their targets. It may not be a coincidence that the cameras in that specific corner were either obscured or not providing a clear angle. Someone wanted Drew in that water, and they wanted it to look like the person who brought him there was the one who pushed him. If you ask me, that's where things become interesting. Let us start connecting the dots, because the Port Charles Police Department is currently running with the most obvious, blindingly convenient theory available. Willow did it. And honestly, can we entirely blame them for looking in her direction? If this surface narrative is true, it perfectly aligns with a dark, undeniable piece of Port Charles history. We cannot forget, and certainly the residents of the town have not forgotten, that Willow actually shot Drew in the past. That is a massive, glaring red flag on her permanent record. When you have a history of lethal violence against the exact same victim, you are automatically going to be the prime suspect. This historical baggage is exactly why people are so quick to condemn her. Look at Trina Robinson, Kai Taylor, and Alexis Davis. They all vividly remember the incident where Willow pulled the trigger on Drew. For them, this pool incident isn't an isolated, bizarre accident. It is the terrifying sequel to a crime that was never fully resolved in the court of public opinion. If you are Trina watching this unfold, you are thinking that Willow finally decided to finish the job she started months ago. If you are Alexis, looking at this through a legal and analytical lens, you see a clear pattern of escalation and a motive deeply rooted in their complicated, toxic history. The town is ready to convict Willow without a trial because her past actions have completely destroyed her credibility. This could explain a lot about why the police are not looking for an outside agitator. They believe they already have their monster in custody. But wait, what if that's true? What if the town's absolute certainty is exactly what the real perpetrator is banking on? There may be more to this story, and this brings us to the massive, chilling theory that I believe is the true heartbeat of this entire nightmare. We need to talk about the phantom hiding in the shadows of Port Charles. We need to talk about Jen Sidwell. Sidwell is currently a wanted fugitive, hunted by the authorities, forced to live like a rat in the dark corners of the city. He is dangerous, unhinged, and slowly losing his grip on whatever rational thought he had left. But more importantly, he has a burning obsessive vendetta against Willow. Why? Because Willow recently refused to help him with his nefarious plans. She shut him out, denied him the resources or the cover he desperately needed. In Sidwell's twisted psychopathic mind, that refusal was an act of war. Furthermore, Sidwell harbors a deep hypocritical resentment toward the fact that Willow is walking around free. He knows about her past. He knows she shot Drew and managed to evade the ultimate consequences. To a fugitive who is losing his freedom, seeing someone else get away with attempted murder is an infuriating injustice. So, here is the big reveal theory. Sidwell has been stalking Willow. He followed her and Drew to the Metro Court. He hid in the cabanas, blending into the background, watching with cold, calculating eyes as Willow wheeled Drew to the water's edge. He saw Drew's vulnerability, the wheelchair, the physical weakness. And the moment Willow walked away to grab a towel, a drink, or just take a phone call, Sidwell struck. He didn't just push a man into a pool. He executed a flawless, silent strike designed to inflict maximum pain on two people at once. By shoving Drew into the water, Sidwell achieved a terrifying dual victory. First, he nearly killed a man, satisfying his violent urges and punishing someone associated with Willow. Second, and far more devastatingly, he perfectly framed Willow for the crime. He knew her history with Drew would instantly make her the prime suspect. He knew Trina, Kai, and Alexis would immediately point fingers based on the past shooting. Sidwell didn't just try to drown Drew. He tried to drown Willow in a sea of undeniable circumstantial evidence. He gets to sit back in his hiding spot, watching the police slap cuffs on the woman who defied him, laughing as she takes the fall for his own sadistic crime. If this theory is correct, the aftermath of this event is going to be catastrophic for everyone involved. Let us look at the immediate fallout. Willow is currently trapped in an absolute nightmare. She is fighting a battle she cannot win because the ghost of her past is testifying against her in the present. How does she prove she didn't push him when she is the only one who had the opportunity and she already has the established capability for violence against him? She stands to lose her freedom, her reputation, and any remaining goodwill she had in Port Charles. The walls of the interrogation room are closing in on her, and every time she protests her innocence, the detectives just slide the file of her past shooting across the table. She is entirely alone, fighting a ghost she doesn't even know is in the room. And what about Drew? As he lies in a hospital bed, his lungs burning, his body traumatized by the near-death experience, what will he remember? The trauma of nearly drowning, combined with his existing physical ailments, might scramble his memory. Will he wake up and, influenced by the police narrative, believe that Willow actually pushed him? If Drew turns against her, Willow's fate is sealed. But if Drew remembers a shadow, a hand that didn't feel like Willow's, or the distinct scent of Sidwell's cologne right before he hit the water, that could be the tiny thread that unravels this entire masterful frame job. However, the bigger question is what Sidwell will do next. A predator who successfully executes a plan like this does not simply walk away. The thrill of the kill, or in this case, the thrill of the perfect setup, is intoxicating. He is still out there, emboldened by the fact that the police are looking entirely in the wrong direction. If he realizes that Drew might survive and eventually remember the truth, Sidwell might decide that he needs to finish the job properly. This puts Drew in unprecedented danger right inside the walls of General Hospital. And if the investigation does somehow begin to pivot away from Willow, Sidwell will feel the heat. A cornered animal is the most dangerous kind, and Sidwell has nothing left to lose. We may be looking at the beginning of something huge, guys. The truth could be closer than anyone realizes, but it is buried under layers of historical bias and perfectly timed malice. The Port Charles Police Department is playing checkers, while Jen Sidwell is playing three-dimensional chess in the dark. They are so blinded by Willow's past that they are completely ignoring the monstrous present. Someone may not be ready for what's coming next. If the truth about Sidwell's presence at the Metro Court pool is exposed, it will send shockwaves through the entire city. It will force Trina, Kai, Alexis, and the rest of the town to look in the mirror and realize how easily they were manipulated by their own prejudices. It will clear Willow's name, but at what cost? The psychological damage of being framed for murder, of having everyone you know believe you are capable of such a cold-blooded act, is a scar that will never truly fade. Keep your eyes peeled, guys. Watch the background of every scene at the Metro Court. Watch the way the detectives question Willow. Every single word, every single glance matters right now. The clock is ticking, Drew's life hangs in the balance, and a phantom is pulling all the strings. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because we are definitely going to be tracking every single development of this explosive storyline. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.